In an Ontario city of about 55,000 people, Belleville police caution the public to avoid unnecessary travel downtown after more than a dozen people overdosed in less than an hour. CTV's Heather Wright on the spike and the warnings to other cities.
The calls began coming in at around 2:30 Tuesday afternoon. People overdosing after consuming drugs in downtown Belleville. 2 hours later, police sent out an alert that they were responding to 13 overdoses, asking people to avoid the downtown core. By the next morning, the number was up to 17.
So for today's video, we're going to be talking about drugs, and in particular how our medical professionals and people in power like our politicians are trying to push it onto all avenues, especially with this safer supply situation that's going around. Now, as you saw from the opening clip, Belleville, Ontario just dealt over a span of 2 days 23 overdoses, where 17 of those ODs happened in one day. Now, I believe none of them were fatal, which is great. However, this is not a good look. And about 2 weeks ago, an article came out saying BC acknowledges problems with safer supply, however, looks to expand it anyway. And this lady in particular, Bonnie Henry, she's like the head medical doctor, head chief medical doctor. And I would probably put her at the same level as Mark Holland, the psycho, the, Minister of Health with his MAID program, because this is what she said in a recent press conference.
BC's top doctor is recommending the province continue with its prescribed safer drug supply program following a comprehensive review.
This is an important program, and we can do better at maximizing the benefits of this.
But Dr. Bonnie Henry made a slew of recommendations on Thursday to improve benefits and minimize harms, including expanding the program by making it accessible to more people and offering more drug options.
Diacetylmorphine or heroin in various formulations and different formulations of fentanyl need to be available through a program that has oversight, and that when we have these new formulations, they're available in the type of formulation that people need, so smokable versions as well as injectable versions.
Now, I don't know about you, but this lady sounds like she wants to make a all-you-can-eat buffet of drugs for all these people, whether it's heroin, cocaine, fentanyl, smokable, injectable, and she states that we must provide these drugs for these individuals. Like, this is absolutely lunacy. However, she just recently also wanted to take a page out of the Liberals' book, how they changed the carbon tax name to the Canadian Carbon Rebate. This is what she wants to change prescribed safer supply to.
Other proposed changes include retiring the term prescribed safer supply and using prescribed alternatives to the toxic supply instead.
Now listen, if you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. Simply because you change the name doesn't change the fact that you're providing these people with free drugs, which you yourself came out in your review saying that these people are diverting the drugs that they're getting from you and selling them to other people for other types of drugs, and then the ones that you are selling are getting into the hands of youth, which is a huge problem. However, this lady seems to think that even though it's happening, there's another underlying reason for it.
It also acknowledges that diversion, people selling or giving away their prescribed supply, is happening.
Diversion in and of itself isn't something we should think of as good or bad. Diversion is something we should think of as in terms of its unmet needs. So diversion happens because people's needs are not being met in other ways.
Now this is wild to me that she's saying we need to meet the needs of druggies or junkies, whatever you want to label them as if this is some sort of compassionate, empathetic thing that we're doing. This is just perpetuating and allowing them to stay addicted by simply providing them with free drugs. Again, if you had an alcoholic, you wouldn't continue giving them booze when you know that that's what's making them an alcoholic, right? So why are we continuing to provide them with drugs when we know that they're suffering from this addiction? Like this lady here, who now goes 3 times a day to get free heroin for the past 2 years.
In Canada. And as Joel Ballard explains, Dr. Bonnie Henry says it is time to forge ahead. Every day, Claudia visits the Crosstown Clinic in Vancouver's downtown east side, where she gets 3 shots of medical-grade heroin, part of BC's prescribed safe supply program.
I love it because it's been helping me keep clean from street drugs for it's over 2 years now.
This lady is probably doing more heroin than she would have been doing if she didn't have access to free drugs. 3 times a day for 2 years? Now listen, I don't know what the street value of heroin is, but I'm pretty sure that somebody like her probably couldn't have afforded having heroin 3 times a day. Yet now, because of this program, she's able to just be happy-go-lucky every day for the past 2 years because she's getting shot up 3 times a day. Yet even with this woman, Bonnie here, trying to push this forward and saying it needs to be expanded to more and more people, even the people that she has with her say that the reach is actually not that great, and the evidence there is not really evidence.
This program, this policy, and in its intent, is an important part of the spectrum of medical care that we are providing and that we need to continue to provide for people who use drugs in this province.
But Dr. Henry and those who worked on the review admit it needs some changes.
I would summarize the reach of this policy by saying that it's limited.
Right now, it's estimated that 115,000 people live with opioid use disorder in BC. Yet the current program only reaches just over 4,300. That's less than 4%. But she says despite the small reach, it's had positive outcomes.
The evidence shows that this is promising, but there's not yet strong enough research to say that this is an evidence-based intervention.
So this doctor claims that the evidence is promising, but in the same breath states that the research of the evidence does not back up this type of intervention. AKA, it's all bullshit. This actually doesn't work, and they're just trying to pull the wool over your eyes. I don't understand. But when you do have actual evidence of even druggies or junkies saying that they're coming out and telling you that people are just taking these drugs and selling them for other drugs, she still goes ahead and says, we need to expand this.
But there were risks too, namely diversion, where some of the drugs are making their way to people without prescriptions. CBC News spoke to a drug user who says it's all too common, mainly because the safe supply isn't strong enough.
Anytime anybody on methadone asks the doctor, please give me a safe supply, they're just selling it and they're going to buy fentanyl.
Despite some of the risks, Dr. Henry says it's time to expand.
The program as it is, the policy as it is right now, does not go far enough.
So even with all the evidence that's stacking up against her, where we're hearing about excessive ODs, they're talking about divergence, where people are getting these free drugs and selling them, where another doctor is saying that there actually is no evidence saying that this intervention really works, and we're only meeting 4% of our drug use target, and that's not enough. She's still pushing forward with this and saying it's not enough, we need to expand. And because of this, we actually had another incident last week where in Richmond, BC, they were trying to push forward a supervised consumption site, which is their way of saying a safe supply zone, right beside the General Hospital. And there was a large group of Canadians of Asian background that were there protesting against, saying like they don't want this, get the drugs out of here. And then this psychopath was there yelling right at them, go back home, go back to Hong Kong.
I live for my
Now, this lady must have been on some sort of drugs because she's there yelling at his face, Canada fights for her citizens, yet that's exactly what he's doing. He's fighting to not have our citizens hooked on drugs. Because as he states at the beginning there, all you're doing is funding their addiction by providing them with free drugs, which is 100% true. Yet she decides to take that as, you don't belong here, go back to your country, go back to Hong Kong. Mind-blowing. And then this lady with the face diaper in the black suit is saying to the RCMP, oh, you gotta get him out of here, you gotta get him out of here. How about you get the racist lady out of there? The one who's yelling at these people and saying, you're that's wrong with Canada, go back to Hong Kong. When they're actually trying to keep the integrity of their community intact without having all these druggies floating around, especially outside of a hospital. But hey, that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, catch you on the next one. Thanks so much.